From the Samson Production Studios in the heart of Hazleton, Pennsylvania, it's your News 13.
Brought to you by SSP TV and the Standard Speaker.
It was a tragedy right here in our region, which captivated a nation. Coal miners trapped underground. Some were lost, some were saved. The 50th anniversary of the Shepton mine disaster, our top story on News 13 for this Wednesday. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Kathy Baczynski. It was the mining disaster that was heard around the world. This week marks the 50 years since the Shepton mine disaster. And although it technically didn't occur in Shepton, Matthew Petrillo tells us it was more of a miracle.
The Shepton mine disaster happened 5 decades ago, but the tragedy is still fresh in the memory of historian Dr. Peter Yasenchak.
When I think of any miners being trapped, it's a tragedy.
Hundreds of people came out to volunteer in the rescue, but finding the miners had its challenges.
We're coming around to see this, and so what they had to do, what many people don't know, they had to erect a huge screen around because people are coming in, blocking the highways and the roads, and so that the safety workers couldn't come in.
And there was only one entrance and exit, which was actually not in Shepton, but in between Hazleton and Shenandoah.
Thing is, how are we going to get to them? Can we get to them? And are they still alive? What's happening?
Emergency officials eventually rescued 2 anthracite miners after being trapped underground for 14 days in a cave more than 300 feet below the surface. Yasenchak calls it a miracle.
Blessing that we had people who would give their time and money to go down to try to get to them, which they did.
A third miner was separated from the 2. His body was never recovered.
And they have a marker above the mine there, a memorial for him at the stone.
The only records the Historical Society has are old newspaper articles and one book. But it's a tragedy, Yasenchak says, that'll never be forgotten. Yasenchak says the rescue is a world record.
They had on their record that 10 days under was Japanese miners, and these guys were under for 12 days.
A walk to the site of the Shepton mine disaster will be held Sunday, exactly 50 years to the day rescuers realized 2 coal miners had survived a mine collapse. Matthew Petrillo, News 13, Pottsville.
And the region's last standing coal breaker might end up being sold for scrap. For years, people from our region have been trying to save the Huber breaker in Ashley. Today, Christina Papa discovered what the future might hold for the iconic building.
Raymond Clark remembers the Huber breaker as it once was.
The time it was built, it was the most modern and largest breaker in the world. I remember getting dynamite boxes as a kid from the miners.
Back in the late 40s, 15 to 16,000 men worked in the building, which was a big moneymaker for the area. Today, the crumbling Huber breaker in Ashley is the area's last standing coal processing facility.
It's a sign of the times, I guess. Coal had faded out, and they were just about done with the building, so they didn't care what they did with it, I think.
In the 70s, the breaker's owners used the building as scrap metal, cutting windows out and pulling equipment from the building to be used on other projects. Today, Number One Contracting Company has ties to the Huber breaker, although the bankruptcy court technically owns the 26 acres of land.
Al Roman owns the property, and he's in bankruptcy, and he owes his creditors several millions of dollars.
Recently, a Philadelphia company bid $1.275 million for the breaker and the surrounding land. The nearly 27 acres would potentially be split in a sale otherwise. News 13 tried to contact the trustee overseeing the bankruptcy, attorney Michael Ollier from Hazleton today. He wasn't available for comment. Ollier has received approval from the courts to auction off the property. Folks in the area have mixed emotions about what should happen to the historical land.
I think it should be a museum and be preserved. It's our heritage.
It's just taking up space, so I think it's just useless almost.
Even if the breaker does come down, the Historical Society owns 3.1 acres of land in front of the breaker they plan to use to keep Ashley mining history alive.
If you'd like to help, folks can send donations to the Historical Preservation Society at the address at the bottom of your screen. A hearing is set for next week in the federal courthouse in Wilkes-Barre, where the future owners of the property will be determined by the court. Christina Papa, News 13, Ashley.
Former Governor William Scranton was remembered as a man of the people at his memorial service today at a church his family helped build in Scranton. Hundreds of people came to today's service to pay their respects to the former governor whose family founded the city of Scranton and who, as governor, transformed the way the state of Pennsylvania was governed. Among those attending the service were Pennsylvania Governor Tom Corbett and former governors Ed Rendell, Tom Ridge, and Dick Thornburgh. Former Governor Scranton's failed run for the presidency transformed his career into a life of public service. He served under 4 presidents in a number of different roles and was United Nations ambassador under President Ford. Former governor died July 28th in California, 9 days after his 96th birthday. Well, emergency crews rushed to a gas line break in Cunningham today. EMS workers and Valley Regional Fire were called to a home on Main Street across from the Brass Buckle around 11:30 this morning. Several blocks of Main Street in Cunningham were blocked off for almost a half hour as crews worked to fix the gas line break. Neighbors say they could smell gas and believe their neighbor somehow nicked the gas line while mowing the lawn. At first, neighbors were asked to leave their homes in case of emergency, but once UGI Gas Services got on the scene, everything was cleared up quickly. And still ahead on News 13, some beautiful weather in store, though it might feel more like late September than mid-August. We'll have the forecast of News 13 weather. But first, that just might make for some terrific conditions for an annual Greater Hazleton tradition. We'll have the preview by News 13. It's an annual celebration of culture, spirituality, and family. Christina Papa stopped by a local parish today as they set up for the annual St. Mauro's Italian Festival.
The streets closed off and tables and chairs are starting to be set up for the annual St. Mauro Italian Festival right here in Hazleton.
We have an annual festival in honor of St. Mauro della Brocca from the Cilento region of Italy. And yes, it happens approximately on this weekend every year.
The Queen of Heaven Parish closes off this side street every year in preparation for the big day. Father Anthony Generos says the parish has big plans for this weekend.
Well, it's a wonderful event that gathers people from here still locally and from families that have moved away. They come back for this event.
The festival is just in time for the closing of summer. Michael and his family have helped out at this festival for as long as he can remember. He calls the festival a homecoming.
I feel this one's more like family oriented than most of them because we're all closer here. I mean, as more bazaars keep dwindling down and getting smaller, but this one still stays around the same size every year.
While there are plenty of games and food to be celebrated during the weekend festivities, the main reason for the festival, to celebrate St. Mauro.
The festivities start on Saturday, but on Sunday, a statue of St. Mauro will come through these doors and down the street. It's part of a long-standing spiritual tradition that the community continues to do year after year.
The procession will begin after the 10:30 Mass. As part of the tradition, folks will pin money on St. Mauro as a monetary donation in support of the church before the statue is taken down the street.
All the values that we espouse inside the church one weekend after the other, and bring it out onto the street to give it an expression of the good things that human beings are capable of.
Father Generos says the congregation works hard to get ready for the event and hopes the community will come out to support the church and have fun.
Saturday beginning at 2 o'clock and going until 9, I believe, and then Sunday at noon there will be a 5K race for the cannoli. So if you're a runner, come out and join us. It'll be beginning right here on this street corner, and that'll continue until 8 p.m. on Sunday.
Christina Papa, News 13, Hazleton.
I am so down for the cannoli race. Time now for our regional weather from the National Weather Service. Checking the radar. Nothing but clear skies and smooth sailing. That also means an opportunity for some pretty cool temperatures once we hit the overnight. Our creative condition is perfect for our upcoming stretch of nice weather. It's by Emily Velez, a student at Hazleton Elementary Middle School, and she says that mom and her little girl are playing in the park on a sunny afternoon. And now let's take a look at News 13 weather from the National Weather Service for Greater Hazleton. For tonight, it'll be mostly clear with the low going down to 50 degrees. And for Thursday, sunny with a high just up to 71. Mostly clear again at night with a low around 51 degrees. And then moving on to Schuylkill County. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 47. Then Thursday, sunny with a high near 75. It'll be clear at night with low heading all the way down to 49 degrees. Now let's check the winning midday lottery numbers. Good luck if you play. The daily 387, the big 4 0244, Quinto 13493, and the treasure hunt 5 9 15 25 27. Hope you won.
Good evening, everyone, and here's tonight's Talk of the Town report. First tonight, the Nescafec State Park will be holding a program called A Night Out with the Stars on Saturday, August 31st. Join along as members of the Greater Hazelton Astronomical Society share their knowledge of the night skies with a presentation. Starts at 8 p.m., program is free, and space is limited. Call for more information, 570-403-2006. And finally, the Mock Chunk Opera House will be holding the following events. September 6th, Solace. September 7th, Merry Fall. September 13th, David Wax Museum. And September 14th, John Denver Tribute. For tickets or more information, call 570-325-0249 or check out mockchunkoperahouse.com. That's tonight's Talk of the Town. News 13 would like to send sincere condolences to the family and friends of these recently departed. George C. Scuba, formerly of Freeland. Funeral is Friday at 10 a.m. from the McHugh Wilczek Funeral Home. Friends may call Friday from 8:30 to 10 a.m. David M. Romeo of Hazelton. Funeral is Friday at 9 a.m. from the Furo Funeral Home. Friends may call Thursday from 5 to 8 p.m. Thomas Matashonik, formerly of West Hazelton. Mass is Friday at 10 a.m. in the St. Peter's Church. Friends may call Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Holler Funeral Home. And Wilbur Schumann of Seibertsville. Funeral is Friday at 11 a.m. from the Harmon Funeral Home. Friends may call Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. and Friday from 10 to 11 a.m. Tonight's obituaries have been brought to you by the Smilax Floral Shop located on 15th Street in Hazelton. Free delivery to all local funeral homes. Call 570-454-0111. And by Doves of White, serving Schuylkill and surrounding counties. Call 570-205-1597.
SSP TV Sports on News 13.
Good afternoon, I'm Mike Madry filling in for Fred Barletta until the end of next week. Now, as we wait for football to start up, which for the NFL is surprisingly 22 days away, we're in that stretch where games in both the MLB and minors become more crucial as we make our way to September. The Yankees and Alfonso Soriano, who hit 2 home runs, picked up a win last night, 14-7. With the win, you see they're alive but barely breathing at 5.5 games back of the wild card. If there's a time to get hot, now is that time for New York, who for the first time in over 50 games managed to score 10-plus runs at home. Hazelton native Joe Madden and his Rays are sizzling, down dramatically, but they still hold the last wild card spot after going 2-8 in their last 10. Heading right on to the NL wildcard standings, St. Louis and Cincinnati holding on to the final spots with ease, as 5.5 separates them from the rest of the pack. Now, this is all good news for the Pirates because even if they drop out of the division race, they can still fall back on that wild card spot at the least. But nevertheless, all looks good in the Steel City. We slide down to some AAA action. Russ Kanzler getting involved in his team's 5-4 win over Columbus. Kanzler went 1 for 5 with a run, and with the hit, Kanzler has his average at .257 for the season as he tries to crawl out of what you can call a slump for the Hazelton native. Some more AAA action as it was all Rail Riders last night, pouncing on the Charlotte Knights 7-1. Corey Patterson 3 for 5 with a home run. J.R. Murphy 2 for 3 with a home run. And big man Randy Ruiz 3 for 4. All 3 guys contributing for the Rail Riders. And look out, Rail Riders fans, because Randy Ruiz has been on a tear so far this season. The 250-pound DH hitting quietly .308 with 15 homers this season. If he keeps it up, no question he will be a September call-up for the Bronx Bombers this season. Some more minor league action unfolding tonight as Russ Kanzler watch is in effect. The Columbus Clippers take on the Indianapolis Indians at 7:05. Also, baseball will be played at Scranton. The Knights look to avenge a 6-run loss. They go tonight against the Rail Riders, and the Iron Pigs take on Syracuse. Well, a rumor going around claiming the 76ers owner Joshua Harris is close to purchasing the NHL's New Jersey Devils may be confirmed in the upcoming days, according to sources with knowledge of the situation. Now, this rumor has been getting mixed reactions from the fans, considering Harris is a Philly owner looking to buy the Devils, which is an arch enemy of the Flyers. Harris does have $2 billion to his name, and rumors with the purchase of the Devils, he will pay off the club's $30 million debt and get them right on their feet. Also, don't expect Harris to relocate the Devils anytime soon, as they have contract obligations in Newark, which will keep the team in Jersey for another 15 years, 48 days until the NHL opens their season. A local golf phenom is making his presence felt in a big-time way this week. Brandon Matthews, the golfer, is looking to play his way and compete on the big stage. He's close. Matthews, who graduated from Pittston and then Temple, shot 1 under par in the first round of the 113th U.S. Amateur Championship. With the strong outing, Matthews moves on to match play portion, facing off against Matt Pizzato today for a chance to advance in the tournament. Moving on to some football action as the days dwindle down until opening kickoff. All 32 teams are making the necessary roster moves to make their respective clubs better, and the Eagles are doing just that, looking to add some depth to the receiving corps, who lost Jeremy Maclin for the season. The Eagles are bringing in former Oregon wideout Jeff Mihal. Mihal will be reunited with Dennis Dixon and Chip Kelly, who were also at Oregon during Mihal's tenure. This move obviously brings up some intrigue for fans, and also Mayhill, who even himself isn't sure on what offense to expect with the Eagles. Staying put in the NFC East, but moving away from the field, the Cowboys were valued today as the team worth the most in the NFL, according to Forbes. Jerry Jones bought the team in 1989 for $140 million, and in the modern day, get this, the Cowboys are worth a whopping $2.3 billion. A team, surprisingly, who made the list was the Houston Texans, estimated at $1.45 billion. That's all I got for sports, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Tonight's sports is brought to you by Mountain Speedway. Here's a look at this weekend's action. It's going to be busy. The racing will begin at 6, so plenty of action this Saturday. Just $10 for grandstand admission. Kids under 10 are free, and if you're active military or a senior, you get a $2 discount. There's the website and the phone numbers. You could call them and get all the information on the excitement of racing down at Mountain Speedway.
Well, it's a part of your childhood which is still making kids happy today. The Mr. Softy truck is one part of our area is still on the streets serving up treats. And as Matthew Petrillo tells us, this one's been operating for 3 decades.
That familiar tune means one thing. You better go and ask Martin for some money, because the ice cream man is coming. But don't call the operator of this truck Mr. Softy.
I feel like I'm married to a franchise, but I guess because I'm driving an ice cream truck and it's Mr. Softy, I guess the children just come up and say Mrs. Softy because of the name.
Mr. Softy started in Philadelphia in 1956, and today it's grown to be one of the largest franchises of ice cream across the country. There's more than 600 of these in the United States, but there's only one truck here in Schuylkill County, and Miss Roberts has been behind the wheel for 30 years. She says she drowned out the Mr. Softy tune after all these years, and says she keeps getting behind the wheel every summer because of her customers.
Like a lot of times, you know, you get like, oh my gosh, this is too much for me. The customer's like, oh, you got to keep going. We love you. So that kind of helps because it's their enthusiasm. I guess that keeps you going.
The usual route for the Schuylkill County franchise includes Pottsville, Schuylkill Haven, and Minersville, and special events like her annual visit to the Senior Center today.
Very good.
Is it really good?
Vanilla.
It's good? Any plans to retire?
Obviously, we're trying to keep it going. The customers love it, and it's the support of the customers and my family, my friends, my close friends that help me keep it going.
She's only around for a little while longer, but there's still enough summer left to catch one of these sweet treats. Matthew Petrillo, News 13, Pottsville.
Love Mr. Softy. Plenty more news and information headed your way on News 13. We'll tell you more about the 50th anniversary of the Shepton mine disaster. That story and much more news when the 13 crew comes right back.